So this presentation is going to be focusing on social housing revitalization, a perspective from Regent Park. Just a quick reminder to everyone, the Regent Park is Canada's first and largest public housing community. Its revitalization began in 2005, driven by the vision of creating a mixed income, inclusive neighborhood. And the primary goals were to replace aging public housing homes, create a balanced community with a mix of market, affordable rental, and rent geared to income housing, and enhance the community's infrastructure and public amenities. The affordable housing in Regent Park has been maintained from the original amount of units that existed in Regent Park. So it's also important to know that City Council's most recent decision, which was in 2023, which is not too long ago, it was just last year, was to preserve the 633 rent geared to income units and add a minimum of 637 new affordable rented units in phases 4 and 5. These new affordable units are based on OPA's 558 income-based affordable definition. One thing to note is the first 135 affordable units in building 4A are fully funded by the city and adhere to OPA 558 standards, and some design and enhancements. There are going to be adjustments to optimize housing options while ensuring safety and infrastructure integrity. And the social development plan is a great example of what is possible when our city invests in people, invests in our neighborhoods directly, and in a plan that actually is led by residents. And the goal is to foster social cohesion, inclusion, and equity in Regent Park, but also to ensure that residents are active participants in shaping their community. And I think it's very important for us to remember that it's revitalization or redevelopment can never be successful if you don't invest in people. So the importance of investing in people and not just buildings. And there's one slogan that I hope you folks will remember at the end of this presentation, and that is nothing about us without us. One of the most important processes was the Community Priorities Report. Shout out to Toronto Community Benefits Network, especially Kumsa Baker, who was fundamental in helping us put together this report. It was informed by hundreds of residents. We also had elected officials show up to the presentation of the priorities report, and this report actually influenced the process. But residents were also there when it comes to the RFP process and as well as the developer selection. And the report emphasized resident-led priorities, ensuring community input remained central throughout the revitalization process. The reasons why these are challenges is because we're having this really important conversation about developer subsidies versus public investments. So the proposed $325 million risk diverting funds from rent geared to income housing. And I just want to give you folks an example. It costs $8,000 to subsidize a rent geared to income unit in a year. So this $325 million will hopefully fund the subsidy of 40,625 RGI units on city-owned land. Over 200 residents across the city of Toronto benefited from the Boost and Foundational programs. About 17 of them were TCBN residents. And there is this appetite for home ownership across the city, especially in Regent Park. You hear a lot of rent to own, and that's critically important because we want to make sure that residents have access to home ownership, but we also want to make sure that residents are involved in addressing systemic barriers to ensure equity and access to housing and land use planning, especially with new laws like Bill 185 that were passed. So some lessons learned and some important points to raise when it comes to community advocacy is Regent Park has shown the power of grassroots mobilization, resident involvement in coalition building. We're involved in various coalitions. We sit at the table, representatives depute at City Hall. It's critically important for us to remind everyone that you cannot do this on your own. You need to be part of a village of folks who want to advocate for this really critical point, which is housing is a basic human right. And so I just want to give a shout out again to the Coalition for Equitable Inclusive Development, FOSTRA, and other allies in making this work. And I think it's really also important to realize that it's investing in residents-led initiatives ensure developments meet the actual community needs. And one great example is our call for a 50-50 balance between social housing and market housing, which continues to remain central to each Regent Park's identity. One last thing is, a commitment to Regent Park's legacy. We want to ensure its status as a mixed, inclusive community through balanced housing policies. And we want to build on the recent victories, like maintaining OPA's 558's income-based affordable definition. Sometimes we fail to celebrate the little wins, and that was a big, big win, in my opinion.